Rolling.
So anyhow, that was Mount St. Helens. Did about the same thing with the shots of the Russian cosmonauts. That got me fired also. Early on in the late 70s, the Geographic posted a memo that said nobody wanted to see space projects. So my friend and I decided to test that, and we went out and solicited the Red Army and Academy of Sciences that we'd go over to Moscow to shoot pictures of the Russian cosmonauts that were going to fly in ¡75 with the Apollo-Soyuz flight. Well, we got permission to do that, but we kind of forgot to tell the Geographic. The way this thing worked was on a Monday morning, we got a call from NASA and they said, meet me over at the class reunion. That's a famous bar in D.C. So 7 o'clock comes along, and John and I go over to class reunion and sit down, and the guy from NASA comes up, sits down, and says, your project is about to be approved by the Soviet Union. Okay. And he got him left. So we go, wow, this is great. So the next day, a letter which I sadly had never saved, a very nice 2-paragraph letter, perfect English, came in from a Red Army general, and the Red Army general said, your project's been approved and be in Moscow on Saturday afternoon. Well, we froze in place and realized that we hadn't told anybody about this project. So we went up and back to Tom again, and Tom wondered who was going to shoot this thing, and I raised my hand, and that was that. It didn't quite be that. I found out what the Geographic was all about. The Geographic's imaginary lines of photographers waiting to go someplace. And the longest line at that time was the Soviet Union. And the line rose up in perfect unison and said, why him? Well, because I put the thing together along with John Schneeberger. In any event, we got there on a Saturday afternoon. Nobody met us. We went down we got our hotel room at the Intercontinental. Then we walked down to Red Square. It was May 8th, and walked around. And for a week, we just had complete walking and driving of the city. We come to find out that at that time, the lowest you could possibly be was a tourist, and you get no permission. And the highest visa you could get would be Red Army and Academy of Sciences. So any place you wanted to go, we could go. What that meant was the city was very locked down as far as tourists were concerned. And then we had what we called our KGB tour guide. It was a young woman, about 26 years old. Every time we went out the front of the hotel, she was there. And so we figured, well, okay, why not? So we did hand signals, and she took us around the city. She was obviously there to watch us. And after they felt secure about our intentions, so to speak, we met Boris. Boris was a man whose responsibility was for public relations for the Red Army. He wore his jacket over his shoulder, and he was the equivalent of NASA PR. And we got into a big black limousine with 2 gorillas next to John and I, and Boris in the front seat. And Boris looked over the front seat and looked at me and said, did you know you have a surnamed man that works in the American Embassy in Paris? And of course I didn't know, and at the time I bit my tongue because I almost told him that my name was an adopted name. But anyhow, that's the way they check things out. And you want to stop there? Run out of gas?
No, just sit there quiet, kind of look at the camera.
This seems like it's running longer.